Welcome to Noon Wednesday. I'm Marissa Wojcik, multimedia journalist with Here and Now on PBS Wisconsin. Today is September 8th. A proposal to bottle and sell water from Lake Superior is taking advantage of a legal loophole and testing the mettle of the Great Lakes Compact. Professor Dave Striffling, director of the Water and Law Policy Initiative at the Marquette Law School, joins us to explain more. And Professor Striffling, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So this proposal starts with a resident from Duluth, Minnesota, trying to get approval from Bayfield County in Wisconsin for their company called Crystal Clear to bottle Lake Superior freshwater from their property and sell it. Can you explain to us why this type of Great Lakes water use is generally prohibited, and what is the legal loophole being used to get around that?
Sure. So it starts with something called the Great Lakes Compact, which is an agreement between the 8 Great Lakes states that generally prohibits diversions of water, Great Lakes water that is outside the Great Lakes Basin. That's the top level feature that everyone knows about the Great Lakes Compact. Now, the issue is that there are several exceptions to that general prohibition. Some are for cities, municipal water, and others, another, I should say, is for products. So when we hear about cases like Waukesha or Foxconn, those are taking advantage of the exceptions for municipal diversions, either to communities that straddle the basin line or to communities that are outside the basin but are within a straddling county. So that's not what we're talking about here, though. What we're talking about here is a separate exception, the loophole that you mentioned, that's as some describe it, for bottled water or water in products that are in containers smaller than 5.7 gallons. And so there have been examples of bottled water operations within the Great Lakes Basin where the product, the bottled water containers, are then shipped outside the basin and sold. That is allowed under the Great Lakes Compact. It was known at the time that it was passed that this quote unquote loophole existed, but it was the judgment, I think, of the drafters that this amount of diversion just wouldn't drain the Great Lakes. And so, they left it up to local communities to decide whether they were going to allow these types of land uses in their communities, and that's how we get to the dispute that we're talking about today.
And so this 5.7 gallons, if it's bottled, versus just all put in a truck and transported out of the area, should it matter if the water is bottled first and then transported? Do we know why the 5.7 gallon mark, and does this set off alarms to the Great Lakes Compact states that maybe regulations need to be reviewed and revised?
Well, the loophole drew opposition even at the time the compact was being negotiated. But my understanding is that some of the Great Lakes states flatly said that they would not sign on to the compact if this provision was not included. Because they had businesses that depend on it. And it's not just bottled water, of course, it's various food and beverage products that contain small amounts of Great Lakes water that then is shipped outside the basin and sold. So I don't know that we would have a Great Lakes Compact if this provision had not been included. It's hard to imagine that we got the compact at all when you look at it from the lens of today's political climate. So I think that's why it's there. Whether it's something that should be looked at and revised, that would be something that, we'd have to try to figure out how much water is leaving the basin as a result of this provision. And I think, again, in the judgment of the compact drafters, it wasn't enough, or it wasn't predicted to be enough to justify, making this a sticking point and saying, this is something that we've got to have in the compact.
The Bayfield County Planning and Zoning Committee denied this proposal in April. The Great Lakes Compact is a multi-state agreement, and its Canadian counterpart, called the Sustainable Water Resources Agreement, those both decide how to regulate the Great Lakes water usage. So who has the ultimate legal authority and jurisdiction to decide on this case?
Well, it depends on the type of proposal at issue. So just quickly walking through the different categories of diversions under the Great Lakes Compact, if it's to a community in a straddling county like Waukesha, then all of the Great Lakes states have a veto vote over that kind of application. If it's to a community, a straddling community that straddles the basin line itself, then it's solely the state that has the decision-making authority. So that would be the Wisconsin DNR here in Wisconsin. But an application like this, I think it's questionable whether it's subject to compact decision-making at all, because it is subject to that exception that we've been talking about, that 5.7 gallon container exception. There's some question here whether the compact really has anything to say about this whatsoever. So that means that the decision would lie with the DNR to the extent that it has the authority to regulate this well, and with Bayfield County to the extent that a conditional use permit would be required from a zoning standpoint, a land use standpoint, to have this kind of operation on the property.
Now, what I've heard most is that this could set a new precedent. Do you agree with that? Could this allow other companies to come in and follow suit to a large quantity?
So it seems to me that the compact already sort of permits that kind of activity. So if you're talking about the compact, I'm not sure that this is anything new as compared to what's been done in other places. What really makes this interesting is the collision between the county's land use authority on the one hand and the DNR's authority over water use, groundwater use in the state on the other. And that's how the parties are kind of framing up this case. Crystal Clear says that this is just a question for the DNR and the county shouldn't have any role at all here. If the DNR says the well is okay, they should be good to go. The county, on the other hand, says, no, we've got authority over land use regulation here, and you need a conditional use permit to operate. So when or if this case ends up in court, I think that's going to be the primary issue. And you talked about precedent. Now, if it turns out that the applicant doesn't need any conditional use permit from the county, then conceivably, all the surrounding neighbors could also decide to do the same thing and operate their own bottled water facilities. And then you might see an impact, if you don't already, in the local groundwater table, drawdowns of nearby surface waters, that type of thing, effects on the watershed in which the bottling is taking place. You know, the volumes of water we're talking about here, at least for now, are not going to draw down Lake Superior, and they're pretty small amounts of water. But if that amount increases in the future, or if other neighbors decide to do the same thing, then you could start to see effects, at least in the watershed, if not in the lake.
And to that point, if multiple companies come in and begin diverting water from any of the Great Lakes watershed, what are the potential environmental impacts, from drawing down lake levels to pollution to disrupting local ecosystems?
Yeah, so those are some of the things that I think the county Board of Adjustment, it definitely was concerned about, sustainability being a sort of watchword for a lot of communities today. Yeah, again, the Great Lakes, the volume of the Great Lakes is measured in quadrillions of gallons. So it's really difficult to see an impact in the lakes themselves from these sorts of individual diversion applications. For bottled water anyway. When you're talking about municipal diversions, Chicago is by far the largest, upwards of 2 billion gallons a day, I think, as a result of the reversal of the Chicago River. So those are the kinds of things I think that folks are really concerned about when you talk about impacts to the lakes themselves rather than bottled water facilities like this. But again, if you see a proliferation of these kinds of things, then you could be talking about larger effects. And again, I think the county was concerned about this in terms of the impact on the values that it expressed in its comprehensive plan. from sustainability to overcrowding when it comes to access to the waters, water pollution. You could envision, I think, in some circumstances, if you had larger scale industrial operations going on. So again, I think at this point anyway, the concerns are more at the local level, the local scale for the land use and watershed, rather than the impacts on the Great Lakes as a whole. Now, that's not to say that will always be the case, but at least at this point, those are the kinds of concerns that the county board is expressing.
Now, to that end, some local opponents to this proposal include the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, who work to protect water resources and view this lake as a sacred part of their culture. Is the privatization and commodification of this public natural resource fair, particularly to indigenous populations that are near these waters?
Well, I think the rise of tribal input and authority over natural resources is certainly a trend that we've been seeing lately. These voices were excluded for long periods of our history when it came to decision making about our resources. And so I think it's great that the tribes made their voices heard about this application. And as I said, more broadly, it's a trend that they do and should have input over the management of natural resources. So that goes for clean water, clean air, mining projects, all sorts of different things. It's not just when it comes to this application, but it is part of the subject matter. I think it's fair to say that the board considered in making its jurisdiction, along with all the other local opposition to the proposal. That's part of what drives, I think, decision making at the local level. And so broad public input is always important from all sorts of different voices and communities, and the nearby tribal communities are a really important part of life in northern Wisconsin, and absolutely their voice should be heard when it comes to this application.
Could this proposal or subsequent similar proposals violate any part of the Clean Water Act?
So the Clean Water Act is a little bit different. It has to do with the addition of pollutants to navigable waters or waters of the United States. So the proposal to withdraw groundwater wouldn't be impacted by the Clean Water Act. Where that would come into play, again, is if you had a broader scale industrial operation that was discharging some contaminant into surface waters, then you might have an issue where you'd require a Clean Water Act permit. But I don't understand that to be at issue in this case, at least not yet.
As we've already talked about, this is far from the first time the Great Lakes water usage is in demand for multiple purposes, including commercial. And this freshwater resource will likely continue to be fought over. What do you foresee as the best and fairest path forward to regulate the Great Lakes waters fairly?
Well, I think obviously the Great Lakes are a treasure, and we've got to use them sustainably and wisely in a way that best benefits society as a whole. And, I said the lakes are a treasure. I think the Great Lakes Compact is also a treasure, and it's going to be tested in the years to come as broader segments of the country, and indeed even of these states, becomes thirstier, and we experience more and more of the effects of climate change. So what's going to happen, for example, when regions of Wisconsin, even that are outside the Great Lakes Basin, which is a significant part of the state, lies outside the Great Lakes Basin, starts making demands for Great Lakes water? What will a future governor do? And it's hard to anticipate that at this point, but I think it's something that's coming. The other thing that I think will make it more difficult to manage, or maybe more interesting, to put it another way, is I expect large waves of incoming climate migration, incoming migration to the Great Lakes region as a result of climate change, in recognition of the large freshwater supply that we have and the comparatively cooler temperatures that are here. So what do we do in that case when we have lots and lots of new residents and companies who want to use the water? Those are going to be difficult decisions for future policymakers, governors, administrative officials to wrestle with. But it's something that we absolutely need to watch as we move into the future.
All right, we leave it there. Professor Dave Striffling of the Marquette Law School and Director of the Water Law and Policy Initiative. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here. It's been my pleasure.
For more from Here and Now in PBS Wisconsin, you can visit pbswisconsin.org and click on News. And thank you so much for joining us on Noon Wednesday.